Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here, and I very much appreciate people rearranging their schedules for me. As you may know, the president is actually coming to New York today, and he's landing on a helicopter in Prospect Park. And I have lived for 32 years at 9 Prospect Park West, so I told him he's landing in my front yard. And I have to greet him, so that's why they had to change the schedule, so I apologize. But I want to thank you all for being here. One of my goals as New York Senator is to make us the most preeminent city in tech in the world. We're making good progress. We're not there yet. We're catching up to San Francisco. We're probably ahead of any other city. We got to look over our shoulder at London and Berlin, but we're doing great. And I thank you for that. Now, there's tremendous energy and enthusiasm at any one of these tech community events that I go to. And the Progressive Policy Institute recently released a study that found that this is amazing, that tech is our second largest job sector, second to finance, but you're on the way up and they're sort of declining. And it contributes $30 billion in wages to the local economy. Tech's the reason that in New York we actually have 4% more jobs than we did in 2007. In America, there are 3% fewer jobs. And here's another thing that's happened. Our population has gone from, in 1990, from 7 million people in New York City to 8.5 today. Why is that? Because young people from throughout America and throughout the world flock to New York. And one of the main reasons is the excitement of the tech industry. And we're the only city that has grown by that amount of population in the Western world. Obviously, you know, if you go to Chengdu, they went from 4 million to 14 million in a decade. But if any Western city, nothing has come close to us. And tech is one of the main reasons for that. So one of my goals as senator is to keep Silicon Alley growing, make sure that we earn the mantle as the best place for tech in America. So I'm glad to be here and see all of you, and remember when we just got started, and it's so gratifying to see such a burgeoning, exciting, pulsating tech community in every way. Now, the second reason I'm glad to be here is to talk about a very important issue with the larger tech ecosystem, and that is location privacy. As you all know, location tracking technology holds enormous potential for marketing and improving the consumer experience. For example, tracking helps stores improve its shoppers' retail experience by helping stores understand just what people want, the same way online sellers can improve their selections by paying attention to what people click on or put in their virtual shopping carts. But with this enormous potential for benefit comes enormous responsibility on the part of marketers, because as much as consumers want an improved shopping experience, they also want to feel secure in their personal privacy. And when early reports about location tracking through cell phone signals in shopping centers came out, it triggered what I like to call the ick factor. People heard about it and it sort of made them feel, as we'd say in Brooklyn, icky, but uncomfortable would be the more generalized word to say it. You can understand why. If you hear that someone is tracking your movements without you knowing it, it makes you uncomfortable. It has sort of a big brother feel to it. But that doesn't mean that we have to ban the practice entirely. And there's always the collision between helping people make choices and giving them the information they want, and privacy. As the net grows and expands and becomes more important, that's one of the things we have to deal with. And, you know, there are some on the privacy side who says privacy over everything. But that would basically shut down the net as a retail experience, either online or offline, or greatly constrict it. And there are some on the other side who say privacy shouldn't matter, but as usual, the balanced approach is the right approach. So I've looked into this issue, And in the summer, I asked the FTC to take a look at retail location tracking and issue some guidelines or rules of the road so consumers would know what to expect. But we don't need the FTC, and this is a great model for many areas where technology and privacy bump into each other, because the industry stepped up without being required to by the government. On Tuesday, I stood up with the Future of Privacy Forum, led by Jules Polanetsky, who does a great job. He's there, and I think you'll hear from him on the next panel. And he worked for me. How many years ago, Jules? Long time, probably 20 years ago, and then was a local elected official, so he understands how to navigate these difficult issues. And we also had several leading location analytics companies. I think Will Smith is going to be in the next panel too, and he was with us. And we announced a new code of conduct to promote consumer privacy and responsible data use for technology companies that utilize this tracking technology. And it's framed around two important concepts: notice and consent. It includes in-store posted signs that alert consumers to the fact that they're being tracked. It includes the signs it requires the signs to include instructions on how to opt out of the cell phone tracking technology. The signs will allow for greater transparency. They'll be simple and to the point. And under the code of conduct, the tech companies that collect the tracking data limit the information in terms of how it's being used and shared. And cell phone tracking won't be a secret. It'll be out in the open. Most people will feel very comfortable with it. Most people will want it because it will help them improve their shopping experience, make them, if you will, more efficient shoppers. That's a little bit of an oxymoron, but probably true. And at the same time, no one will be doing things that they feel uncomfortable with. And you just dial in on your cell phone and you're opted out. So it's very easy to do, and no one's going to complain that they have to go through 14 different steps to opt out. It's like that. So this is a significant step forward in the quest for consumer privacy, but even more importantly, it shows that tech companies, retailers, and consumer advocates can work well and quickly together in the interest of the consumer. It's a terrific example of policymakers and businesses getting together and getting the right outcome. And it sets two important precedents. First, it sets a standard that in the future, if retailers want to track a consumer, they'll feel an obligation to inform him or her. And second, it sets a precedent that the tech community can work positively and productively with policymakers and others to adequately balance privacy and innovation. I sit on the Judiciary Committee where all this is happening, and I intend to use the agreement we came to as sort of a model that can be used in many other areas where we have these kinds of conflicts. If there's a larger lesson here, for us on the policy, it's for us on the policy-making side. Often, in an effort to protect our constituents and their privacy, we jump to propose new legislation or regulation. But especially in the tech sphere, we need to be careful to balance the legitimate desire to look out for our constituents' privacy with the need to preserve the opportunity for innovation. If we were to quickly ban or regulate every new technology that touched on privacy, we wouldn't have email, we wouldn't have Facebook or personalized shopper discounts. Often consumers and businesses don't understand the full potential of new technology until it's put in place and they're given the opportunity to try it. It's sort of like, to use a book that's been in the news lately, green eggs and ham. It's that mentality. You say you may not like these new technologies, but try them, and you may. But again, people need to know what they are trying, and then they need to be given the opportunity to choose to put the fork down or to refuse to pick it up to start with. So once again, I want to thank the Future of Privacy Forum, led by Jules, who you'll hear from next, as well as the folks from the location tracking companies. 8 of the 10 largest tracking companies are part of our group. So we think it'll spread to the other tracking companies as well. We hope that that will happen. And I want to thank them for being so progressive and thoughtful and seeing a little bit ahead of the curve so that we could prevent any kind of harsher, more restrictive legislation from passing. I believe this represents an important step forward for consumer privacy and for innovation. And to all of you whose work in this field is helping make New York a national tech leader, thank you. Keep it up. Have a great conference.